welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. This show comes to you through Izzy's Legacy Incorporated, my nonprofit organization that helps and supports those on a cancer journey. We recently had our fundraiser. It was a huge success. So I'm going to show you guys a little clip of what happened that day, a little bit of photos to get you excited for the next one. So here we go. Well, that was a huge success, and we are now preparing for our next event. That will be a Night of the Arts in Brooklyn, New York City, March 2025 on March 8th. We'll be giving more information forthcoming. We are looking for musicians, singers, artists of all kinds to be showcased on that day. And that is because my daughter Isabella absolutely loved music and the arts. So it would have been her 18th birthday on March 8th. And we are going to celebrate big in a fashion that she would have absolutely loved. So let's get into who my next guest is. This young lady I met recently. She was a speaker at a friend's event. Dr. Tiffany Harris was having an event in Philadelphia. And when I heard this young lady speak, I was stuck to my chair, completely focused from beginning to end. I felt something different, and it was because the message that she had for all of us that day was especially important for me, especially given in the next couple of weeks what was going to be happening to me. She has a catchphrase that I will allow her to share that resounded with me and has been in my head ever since. Let me introduce you to Melia Franklin. She is resilient and inspiring woman, born and raised in the heart of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Growing up in poverty, she faced many challenges, but always held tight to her faith in God and her dreams for a better future. Today, she is a thriving entrepreneur running multiple successful businesses while balancing her role as a devoted mother to her three beautiful children. Let's welcome Melia to the stage.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. As I mentioned, when I heard you speak, felt you speak, because it was a 3D experience. I was watching you, feeling you, and hearing you, right?
Right.
You shared an impactful message that touched everybody in the room, but especially me. Like I say, you have a catchphrase. What is that catchphrase?
So that catchphrase is not today. Nope, not today. And that comes from when you are like facing any hardships, any challenges, and you just got to remind the enemy sometimes, like, nope, not today. Like, you are not about to get me. And that way that's your way of rebuking him. That's your way of saying, you can't get me. I'm standing in my faith. So nope, not today.
Not today. And it resets your mind, right? So it refocuses. Yes. So when our thoughts go negative, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And you say that, you stop that negative thought.
Yep.
You stop it. It's not only rebuking that, but stopping yourself in many ways from going down that negative rabbit hole, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So now you've had a history of this, right? You've come from poverty, as myself, same thing. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in the Marcy Projects, made famous by Jay-Z, right? He lived right there. We went to school together there. So yeah, we understand coming from that, and those lessons that we learned growing up helping us in our future. So talk
Yes.
to me a little bit about your youth and your past.
So growing up, I'm the only child on my mom's side, and I have a sister on my dad's side who lives in Maryland. But growing up in Philadelphia, Southwest to be exact, me, my mom, my grandma passed when I was 5 years old. But before she passed, it's crazy because I have such a very great memory of her as if she was here all my life. Like I remember everything about her, and I remember the day they told me that she was passing away. Like I could just remember, I could replay that whole scenery when they brought me to to my cousin's house because I had to get there. So growing up and just trying to adapt with being an only child. My mom was a working woman. I don't have no siblings, so I was with my cousins and them all the time. I did stay traveling, going to my uncle's house a lot in Maryland, or my mom made sure I just stayed busy in activities. And just I always kept God first, even as a little girl. Growing up, I was born into a church. I always been in church. I never strayed away so much that whereas I'm not going back. I always found the way to get back to it to help me stay focused and keep a clear mind. And I always told myself, like, okay, God, when I get older, I don't know what it is I want to be. I never had like that. I want to be this when I get older. It was just like, I'm just going to do whatever it is when I get older. I'm just going to go to school like I was told to go to school. I'm going to do everything that's how I'm supposed to do. Right. So as I got older, being a teenager, you venture off, you're trying to learn things, you're doing things. Sometimes you become rebellious. Sometimes you're like, okay, you know what? Let me do X, Y, and Z. And I never thought I would be able to tell my story because at some point in my life, I felt like ashamed or being judged or, you know,
Mm.
people gonna have something to say. But I had my son at 16, turned 17 a couple of months after, but I had my son at 16 and oh, did I get it? Oh, you're going to do this. You just messed up, or graduation kind of this that. You get the third degree about that because it's like you're a teen mom. How dare you get pregnant? You
Oh,
have to do this and that. And let me tell you something. I had my son at 16. I'm laying in that hospital room like I got to get my dress fitted again because I already had my prom dress. And I was like, oh, my prom dress going to get refitted. I'm going on this prom this morning in the next couple of months. And yes, I did. Fast forward, I went on my prom. My son was there. Okay. He was there to see
nice.
me. Well, I think he was I had him in April. So he was about 1 month. So I had him at the prom. He was at my graduation. Oh, yes. Mommy walked down that aisle. Y'all got her diploma. Okay, nobody was at this. That's why I like to tell my story now because everybody like, oh, teen mom, X, Y, and Z. No, you a teen mom. You can still do it. A baby don't stop no show. Right.
That's
So I
right.
walked in that aisle,
That's
got my diploma, my chunky monkey, because he was so fat. He was
right.
there. And from that moment, that matured me. That saved me. And that's crazy because I just told my daughter the other day, I said, y'all saved me. And she probably like didn't understand. Then she's 15 and she probably do understand. And because I was a fighter. I was
Mhm.
out there. I was fighting. I didn't care. I was laying hands on anything because I felt like I had to
You were
defend my
laying hands and not in a good way.
way at the time. And it was a path where as though like if I didn't have my son, I probably would be reckless still to this day. Don't care. No grounding moments for me. No sitting still. Just living my life. Probably partying. And because that's just how it is in the city. That's just how it is with what's going on now. But to have
Right.
my son, it stopped me. It stopped me from fighting. It stopped me from not caring. I didn't care. I had that mindset. I don't care. Oh
Mm.
well, mama. If anything happened, mom got me. She gonna get me. She gonna get me out. My family got me because I was the
Mhm.
only child. In my eyes, I
Right.
was spoiled. They didn't play about me. They still don't play about me, and I'm 35.
Mm.
So it's like it was just like I was fighting to survive. That's what it was because I don't have no siblings. So I felt
Right.
like I have no choice but to fight. You talk about me, you say anything, and the trigger thing for me was you say something about my mom. Oh, it's going to be a problem, and I'm not thinking twice about it. And my mom was like, "Yeah, I remember times I come into the school, So I grew up not like who I am now. I grew up rough. I grew
Right.
up, and I tell people, don't let little old me fool you. They got that saying, I could be holy, but I'm still hood at the
Mm.
same time because I could go back if I have to, but I choose not to because that's a era that I lived, but now I'm out of it. So I want to show my kids, like, like when they go through things in school, now I'd be like, listen, mommy is really not trying to get out of retirement. Please, like, just let these, like, leave my kids alone, because I'm not trying to come out of retirement, because I don't want my kids. I tell my kids about my past, but I really don't want them to experience what it is or what I went through, because that's the past, and I grew up out of that. And
Right.
then after I had my son, 2 years later, I had my beautiful daughter. And when I had my son, he had to stay in the hospital for a week because he had yellow on the
Yep.
skin.
Yep.
So he had to stay there. Then he had to get surgery. So my first pregnancy wasn't like that. Oh my God, I had a baby and this is that. No, I couldn't bring my son home. And I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on? I was
Yeah.
that teen mom wondering what's happening. And I'm very transparent. His dad ended up getting locked up right the same day that we found out what we was having. So he wasn't even there for our son's birth either. So that was another triumph. Like, oh, here she go having a kid by a boy, and then he ain't around, and oh, you really gonna be. So I took on a lot of criticism. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that wasn't easy. And it was just like in my mindset, I'm gonna prove these people wrong. Y'all can't tell me what I'm not gonna do, what it is. Like, I'm not gonna let that stop me from moving forward and being not even perfected, just moving forward and living my life to show y'all that I don't care what obstacles I'm going through, I'm going to get through them, because
For
life
sure.
is like a construction site. You know, you're going to go through a lot of twists and turns.
Right.
So once my son was born, he had to stay for that week. He had yellow giants. Then when he came home, everything was good. But then he had to go back in the hospital. He had to get surgery because he couldn't cry. He couldn't cry tears. His tear ducts
We're
were
clogged.
uh, very dry and messed. So they had to go in and like crush his bones and everything. So that was another thing that I experienced. I'm just like, okay, guy, y'all doing like a whole reconstruction of my son, eyes and tear ducts, everything. So he was in pain. I'm up, numbers of nights with him. And thank God, fast forward, my son is now 17. He is now going to go to college. He
Amen.
is now D1 school picks. He is a two-time American track star in high
Nice.
school.
Yes.
And I am proud of myself because little old me at 16 having him, now he's 17, okay, doing these amazing things. The streets didn't take him. Everything could have went the way that everybody said it could have went. And God said, no, my child, I got you. You had this kid for a reason. He is your purpose. He
Right.
was my purpose to save me. That was my savior. And then I was told I wasn't able to have no more kids after that. I ended up getting they said I was at stage 1 cervical cancer and everything, So it's a lot of things that
And that
people.
was right after having him that you were diagnosed with stage
Yep,
one
because he
cervical
created
cancer.
some abnormal cells inside, to where as though they were trying to say it was stage 1. I'm like, I'm not, no, it ain't no cervical. I'm not claiming that. And it did put a fear in me, to where I was like, I don't want to go to the doctors. Y'all not checking me again. But then when I did go, they showed me that it was abnormalities and everything. And I was like, okay.
So
2 years,
was it or wasn't it?
it was abnormalities of, it could be close to starting to become
So it
cervical
could have
cancer.
became
Yep.
cervical cancer. That's
Yep.
important because you're still what, 17, 18 years old at this
Yes.
point?
Yes.
You're still a teenager.
You-
And I think that's important that we don't skip over that,
Yeah,
right?
because
Because
I don't think then HPV vaccines were really a big
no,
thing then. That
no.
was in 2007. So no, so the HPV vaccines were not there, and I'm just like, when they said that, like HPV, I'm like, well, what is that? There's like, abnormalities, white cells, this happens after this and that. And I'm just like, okay, so what does that mean? It was like, well, it could be a possibility you don't have no more kids, and that could play a big role in it. And I'm just like, oh wow. Like, okay, well, I have my son. I feel great. I feel fine. No worries. 2 years later, I ended up having my daughter. And I
Mm,
was just like, okay, well, like I said, God always had the final say in everything. And then once I found out I was having my daughter, I was like, wow, they said I wasn't possibly going to be able to have another child, this, that, and the third. But then I did. So I named her Angel, because that's my angel. I feel like
mm,
she was a blessing in disguise because of what I was told from a doctor. And to this day, I really don't listen to what doctors say about certain things, because God is in control of it all. And when I had her, that's when I kind of started going down that, trying to find myself. I was
right.
staying here, there, then I was, trying to just figure it out, working, going to school, and really didn't have nowhere to stay, going to this family house, that family house. And then I ended up at one of my family houses and just staying there, and being in one bed with two kids. I'm just like, dang, like my life can't stay like this forever.
Lot of hardships. I don't want to skip over some of the stuff that we're talking about before we head
Right.
into the future, right? So number one, when we're talking about health, and because I'm a nurse, right?
Hmm.
I want to make sure that I make some points here and a disclaimer, right? It is important to get yourself checked out, because
Hmm.
those abnormal cells could have turned cancerous, right? So even it was lucky that it was caught at the stage that it was,
Yeah.
because I personally know of very young ladies. You don't think that you're going to get cancer at that age, but that develop advanced cancer because they didn't go to the doctor and get checked. It is
Yes.
important that when the doctor is talking to you and telling you things, that you also take it with a grain of salt, right? Take the
Hmm.
information, do your own education. There is no never, those words of never being able to have a child. I was told that in a similar circumstance. You may never, and you heard never.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't get on top of this, these are the possibilities that can happen. And you heard, I can't have kids. But
Right.
that's not what he was saying, right? He was saying,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you don't take care of this, if you don't take this serious, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I want to be able to say that,
Yeah.
ladies, take care of yourself.
Yes.
You
Please
know
take
your
care of
body is
yourself.
best. You know
Yeah.
your body is best. And because I'm an advocate for cancer, right? So the important thing for me is to talk about cancer in its many stages. My daughter was diagnosed with a rare cancer at the age of 7 months old, a
Right.
baby with leukemia. So the doctors, even when I was taking her in getting sick, weren't acknowledging her symptoms as something related to cancer. Yet it was classic, right? They
Right.
don't think it. So all the young ladies out there, I just want you to know, somebody out there needs to hear this, right?
Yeah.
Get
Take care of
yourself checked.
yourself.
Go to the GYN, not just because you're having a baby, but once you become of that age, or if you're sexually active, please go get yourself checked and make sure that if you're not into vaccines, but that at least you're doing screenings and
Yes.
use protection. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Everything she said, y'all, please go
Yeah.
because
My health disclaimers have to be there, right?
yeah, we have to because nowadays you never know what is going on with our body if we don't get it checked. And so many things
Wow.
that is inside the food now plays a role of what's going on with our body. And I'm starting to do a lot of research with that as well. So just hearing those things, like you said, all we hear is that word that never or you
The
can't.
pick. Yeah, you picked a
Yeah,
word out of there, and that's not what he was saying. And that was what happened a lot of times, is that we don't truly listen. We hear the word cancer, and I'm sure you were thrown off, right?
yeah, yeah. I
But you
was.
didn't hear nothing else. You
Yeah,
heard nothing else. That's
yeah.
why it's important to have somebody with you that
Right, right.
hears, or that you record and say, "Doctor, let me just record because I'm
Yep.
not processing everything." And
Yes.
so one of my bigger things is to be an advocate for yourself, you need to educate yourself. Education is key. In our Black and brown communities, I'm
Mhm,
Latina, you're African American, right?
mhm.
We're not as healthy as we should be. We're not as educated as we should be, and
Yes.
we certainly don't advocate for ourselves, and we take what a doctor says as gospel. And you
Yes.
you can't do that. You have to look at your own, what am I eating? What am I using in my home?
Yep,
One of the bigger things for
yep.
me, is because I carry a high cancer risk, as so does my husband, is that you have to change the way that you live so that you can prevent that cancer gene from being turned on in yourself and in your children.
Yes, yes, and that's
That's
where I'm
it.
at now with this. So I'm glad you said that too, because that's something like what I'm going to get into later in our conversation. But that's something I am definitely looking into. Whereas though I'm doing more like juicing now, more natural foods, vitamin, just looking into that. So take heed to everything she's saying, y'all. She's giving great information as well, because it's important. Your health is important. Your health is
Everything is important, right? We're not one dimensional. We're three dimensional. We're body, mind, spirit. You
yeah,
know, we're everything, and
yeah,
if one part is not healthy, the rest of it is going to follow suit.
yes,
So let's move forward. Now you got your beautiful children. You're doing life, right? So
yeah.
now, what led you into what you do today? You're a coach today, right? You were standing on that stage. What led you? Was there a pivotal moment in your life that led you to, I should be teaching others. I should be helping others to navigate life as well. What led you to that?
Yes. So funny story. I had my son at 30 and life took a major turn because it was like, wow, I'm in a different stage of my life now. I got my own place now. I have my own car now. I got 3 kids. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I had that help then. Now I'm very independent now. And it was like my schedule took a turn. And now it's like I gotta work around his schedule. And it was kind of challenging. So I became that entrepreneur. Like I have to do something that's going to generate my income to take care of my family while I'm be able to be a mom to this newborn. And I go to church. I go to church very often. I've been kind of busy, but I haven't got there. And made my pastor continue to rest. But when one time we had a revival, I believe it was, and I was prophesied over, and I was told that you're going to be a teacher. You're there to teach, and I'm like, nah, not me. Like me teaching, I don't really got nothing to say to nobody. Like I was like, but I took heed to it, and they was telling me like, no, you are definitely like God's child. Like God is going to use you. Just continue to do what you're doing. You are very amazing. And everything. I took heed to everything that was said at church, and it stuck with me in my mind like a teacher. I'm like, no, I don't got nothing to teach nobody. And then I was like, my kids, like that's all I could teach is show them how to upcome in their life. So
How many years ago was this? Was the prophecy?
my son was 1 and he's 5. So that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Okay.
That was 4 years ago. So, life going, I'm just like, but it's still stuck with me like teacher. So certain things happen, like, well, maybe this is what they was talking about. I was like, nah, that could be what they talk about. And then I started baking. And then I started baking. That was my outlet. I found like that was my piece. That was my way of, doing things to continue just to stay focused, be that mom, generate some income to balance myself out. And then one day, uh, my nephew got killed. My son's cousin ended up getting killed, and I was just like, "It's so much going on with these kids." God, like I was praying, and my son was like, "Mom, I never want to go outside," and he took it really bad. And I'm just like, "Oh, son, like you can't be scared of your city. You got to go outside. You got to live your life." And it started with my kids, like just uplifting them, encouraging them, pushing them,
Mm.
let them know that everything is okay. And then that's when I started getting back into like reading the scriptures more, trying to figure out like what is my purpose. So fast forward last year, um, I was like, no, 2 years ago, my granddad got sick. He got sick really bad, to where as though he was on hospice. I was there taking care of him. And that's kind of where it pivoted. 2022. It pivoted.
2022. And
Yes.
it was the passing of your grandfather, right?
Yes.
So I always say mortality has a funny way of providing clarity,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Because I was with him at the doctor's when they actually put him on hospice. So we was there July of 2022. He was put on hospice, and then I was there to the very end. My mom was there, my uncle, we always there with him. And I was there with him to the end. But every day I used to get up when he was still in good state of mind. He wanted his Chinese food, his egg foo young with the chicken wings, or he wanted the chicken wings with the gravy. And I always said, Granddad, I'm coming. I'm bringing my office to you. My office was my laptop, my planner, and my book, because at this time I was working full-time home, just trying to figure it out. Because in my mindset now, fast forward, I want to be my own boss. I want to travel when I want to travel. I want to do what I want to do because I want to be with my kids. And
So what were you
let me
doing then? What were you doing for
just
yourself at that point?
bacon and
Bacon.
being a health and wellness coach with Total Life Changes, TLC.
Okay.
And that right there was where my money was really generated from. TLC. I became the executive director in that company. And I'm still with them because I know that's where my money can always come from. And I take my office there. I'm reaching out to my clients. I'm sitting next to him. And fast forward down that line, around this time, like October, November, this is when he started to spiral. This is where he took that turn. He started to do that turn to where as though he wasn't eating like that no more. He wasn't drinking nothing like that no more. But I still would get up and say, all right, Granddad, I'm coming. I'm bringing my office. And I'll just sit next to him. And inside his room, after I give him his bath and everything, I'll sit next to him, all right, Granddad. So in 2020, what I say, 2023 next year, I'm going to do this. I'm going to graduate, because at the time I was in college getting my associate's degree as a pastry chef. So I was like breaking it down, like everything that I
Nice.
wanted to do. So I was like, I'm going to do this, granddad. You know what? I'm going to get this accomplished. And I was just like talking to him, even though he wasn't responding. That was my way of, because I knew he was going to transition over. But that was my way of saying, be my angel and guide me through everything that I'm telling you, right? To get me to
Be
where
my
I'm.
messenger. Be my
Yes,
messenger to God. When
right.
you
So
get there,
take
let him
notes.
know.
Yeah, take notes to what I'm saying. Like, you hear me saying I'm trying to graduate. You hear me saying I'm getting my
Poor
podcast.
granddad can't even
Yeah,
transition without a job.
yes, you got a job. Like, because I'm the oldest grandchild. So it's like, you can't leave me. And that was my way of saying you're gonna be okay. Because I'm letting you know it's okay for you to transition,
Right,
but
right.
so I was telling about the podcast, and I started the podcast. That's where the speaking started. I started the podcast. I did a couple of episodes, and then it took off. It took off, and I was like, what was it? A lady from Australia reached out to me, sent me a long DM, and she was like, she was on the urge of committing suicide. She was in a dark
Wow.
space, and she came across my my podcast, and she said she listened to every episode while she sat in her car and just cried and listened. And I was just like how I'm looking at you is like, did I just read what
Wow.
I read like from Australia? Like, I just saved somebody's life. I just
Right.
saved somebody's life while I'm sitting here. And this still, my granddad still haven't transitioned completely yet. I got that in November. So now November, my granddad is really at the point where though he's like almost, this is his anniversary month. So now, he transitioned. I let him know everything. Once he left, kind of put me in a dark space. That definitely took me down. And I just like shut down everything. I was like, you know what? I don't want to do nothing. But then I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to do nothing no more. I lost my passion for everything. And I'm sharing this because this is a message for somebody. You can go through that dark space. And I love to say this because it's okay to get into a dark space. It's okay to lose yourself. But one thing I want to say is don't stay there. Get back up. Get back going. Because I had a list for him when he was transitioning. So how dare I give up? And I know he probably was like, I'm about to come pop this girl. She just told me she need me to help her. All right. Sorry. She just said she need me to do X, Y, and Z. And she gonna tell me that she gonna give up. So, that was the things that I remember. Because I'm like, I remember I told my granddad I want to accomplish this, I want to accomplish that. And I'm just laying here crying. I'm not talking to the people no more. I froze the podcast. Watch out, Tank. I froze the podcast. I stopped just engaging. And
Listen, and you have to give yourself the grace to do that. And those of you that are out there that are experiencing a grief journey, right? Myself, I've gone through them myself. As you have to honor the love that you had for that person. Because you love so hard, you grieve that hard. And
yes,
there's nothing wrong with that.
yes,
Don't let people tell you it's time to buckle up and get out of that, right? No, give yourself the time to honor the love that you felt for that person. But
right.
know that you've got to start taking steps to come out of it. You can't stay there.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I did. I went through 2022 and I started like feeling myself like, okay, come on, kids, let's put the Christmas decorations up. Come on, let's make some hot cocoa buns. So I was just doing things that I know my granddad was like, you're gonna still do this on top of, I lost my grandma when I was 5. And that, and in my office, I'm sitting here, I look up at her, she's right there. I have a Picasso of her in my office. So when in the office, I like, if I'm having a moment, y'all sideline real fast, but when I'm having a moment, I'll come sit in my office. I have a diamond cross right underneath my grandma, and it's a big Picasso of her. So when I come in, I'm like, all right, grandma, what is the message? Like, what are you trying to tell me to do now? Like, what is it? And then I have my granddad like right next to her, because now they're reunited. And I'm just like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I know y'all didn't leave me here to be the glue to the family. Like, it's like times I just have conversations with them, right? Because and it's okay to do that because that's my way of expressing myself. That's my way of my outlet. So now 2023 comes, my podcast is back up. I done did a couple of more episodes, but then I kept having that blank mind, right? And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break from it for a second because I don't like to just do stuff and be scripted. I don't like going to find when I start talking, I'm authentic. When I got on that stage at the Women's Woman Empowerment Brunch, that was nothing that I scripted. I didn't know that we was going to have a storm that day. I didn't know that it was a storm coming that day for me to talk about this, a
Wow.
spiritual storm. I didn't know we had that in the forecast. I've been signed up with Dr. Tiffany to be a speaker months ahead. So
Right.
for me to know, like when it got on that stage, I was like, a storm. Wow, God, like, because I had another topic. He was like, nope, switch it. I'm just like, switch it. Okay. Spiritual storm. How to get through a spiritual storm. Right. So I'm very authentic with it. And so I come across Dr. Tiffany. Me and her kept running into each other. So funny story, we met each other at pop-up events and we just kept running into each other. We just
Mm.
kept running into each other. And the last time we seen each other, we was at the Small Business Grammys. Her business was nominated and my business was nominated for a Grammy.
Nice.
And I ran into her again. I was like, hey girl, you know, God just keep leading us this way. And when she created her One Women's Empower group, I believe I was the first or second to join her in that
Right.
organization. So ever since then, I was following her. And she has that saying that, you know, you want to get in the right rooms. You don't want to get in all the rooms, but you want to get in the right rooms, you
That's
know.
right.
So I
That's
got
right.
in all the right rooms. I changed my mindset. I got back to what I was loving to do. And fast forward now, look at me. That prophecy, as they say, you're going to be a teacher.
Has
You're going
come
to be
true. Has come true.
a
Amen.
right. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't never question what God has. I don't ever question what's going on because nothing is coincidental. And the coincidence, and I was listening to a sermon last week, and he said coincidence or not coincidence is God's way of speaking to you anonymously. And I was just like, wow. I
Yeah.
always say nothing is
Synchronicity.
coincidental.
Nothing
That's
is coincidence. And
that's
I will
the
tell you,
anonymous
I have
way of showing you something.
so it's for somebody out there who needs to hear this, right? The God whispers that happen, and sometimes you hear them through other people, and we
Yeah.
just don't accept that that is coming from God. But you got
Mhm.
to pay attention to them, right? And even if you don't see yourself in the way that they prophesized you were a teacher, you didn't see yourself as that. And that's because that wasn't the time. It was going to evolve. There were going to be moments in there, but I'm sure that in the back of your mind, you kept thinking about it. I'm supposed
Yes,
to be a teacher, right?
yes,
Let me pay attention to the lessons to get me there,
yes,
right? So pay attention, guys. It comes in all different kinds of forms. Back in 2011, it was prophesied that I would write a book and that I would be speaking on stages. I didn't see that for myself. I'm a nurse. I like to be in the background. I don't like to be in the forefront either. Right.
right,
So when
right,
that same thing, when they said that to me, I was like, nah. I was
right,
like, I'm not doing that. Well, number one, I don't have time.
right,
Right.
right.
I don't have time for that. I'm working. I said, that's crazy, but thank you very much. Right. Thank you very much. And it wasn't until years later when life continued to happen and I got onto the path of writing the book that went, oh my God, that
That
person
was
said that I would be doing this.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
So pay
That
attention. These things happen and it may come from sources that you have never expected,
yes,
someone you don't know.
yes.
So, amen. Now, tell me, how can people get a hold of you and what are the services that you offer?
So you can get a hold of me at my website, milliesweetcreations.com. I literally just created my booking site for a life coaching session. So whereas though I am not like the really coach you, but more to uplift you, give you the advice that you're looking for, try to help you get through your hard times. And if you're feeling down, if you just need some encouraging words, but if you have a teenager or a youth that you're having troubles with, I'm more than welcome to get on that call with you to say, hey, this is what we could do, put together a plan or help your teenager be able to talk to you, because teens are very resilient. Now they don't want to talk to their parents.
Yeah.
They just try to stray away. So that's how you can reach me on my website. You could click that link and it's a booking site. You could get on my calendar and I'm there to help the children. I'm here to help you. If you need prayer, anything that it is, you could just book it that way. I am proud to announce, since I'm here, guys, I will be starting my tour soon to hit schools. I want to get to the schools to talk to these
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
There's going to be some colleges and there's going to be some middle schools and high schools. So I'm trying to really work on building that up. And I did just create, and you go on my website for all this, my self-love 31-day devotional journal. And it's on sale, y'all. I'm doing a Black Friday sale. It is $5.50 now. I 50% off. Black Friday started for me. So y'all could go on there and get your Black Friday sales
Right
going.
now. Don't
Yeah,
wait.
go over there and get it. It's gonna be all weekend. I did say yesterday, but nope, Sunday 11:59. It goes back to its regular price of $11.
Nice, nice. Thank you for sharing that. And how about your baking? Do you still do that?
Yes, and it's on my website too. I
On your
got
website.
everything's on the website. You get your cookies, you can get your bundt cakes, cupcakes. You can put your order and stay tuned because I got a sale coming for the bundt cakes for Thanksgiving. So that is
Oh,
actually
I
going
need
to drop
some.
today. So if y'all
Yes.
want to get on board with it, what I think the bundt cakes are now 35. So stay tuned because actually that drop is going to happen at 12 o'clock on the Thanksgiving
Woo!
menu that is going to go on sale because I'm not taking no more orders after 11/22 of this month, guys. So yes, I still do the baking. I'm still a health and wellness coach. I'm Coach Mel. I'm here to just help build up my legacy, build up my empire, build it and get it going and do what I was called to do. And that's to teach and uplift and motivate.
That's right. Amen, sister. Now, this is the last question that I ask all of my guests who come on the show. And that is, what is your definition of success?
Wow, that's a good one. My definition of success is standing on my faith
Mm,
and staying focused and showing my kids the way to know that it's okay to go through hardships. Just don't stay there and get out of it. My success for me is my kids walking in a purpose that I'm showing them to walk in. See, everybody different with success. Mine's don't have nothing to do with money. My success is upbringing my children in the right way of not going through what I went through, but being better. And I'm not saying they be perfect. I'm not saying I want them to be an entrepreneur. I just want them to be better and live their life. So that's my success of knowing that seeing my kids flourish after they go off to college and still walk it in their purpose, knowing who they are. That's going to be my success story. Not me becoming that top-notch person or my business take off or nothing like that. No, my kids are my success because I know I did what I had to do to upbring them in the way that I wanted them to be.
that's right. And true success comes from being happy, right?
Yes.
Being
Yeah.
content in
Yeah.
here, right? And that's priceless. Money can't buy
Yeah.
that.
Money cannot buy that.
Money can't buy
Right.
that. Well, Coach Mel, thank you so much for coming on the show. I truly appreciate all the wisdom that you shared with us today. You gave out a lot of information. Guys, please, her website is scrolling right here on the bottom of the screen. Please visit, reach out. She's right here in Philadelphia
Yeah.
and absolutely can help you. I'm sure that you can do it virtually as well. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Zoom calls as well. If you want to go to my Instagram, it's MSK_HL_22. So you definitely, and it's on my website. You could click the Facebook icon or the Instagram icon, and it'll take you straight to my pages. If you want to reach out, and you also could just shoot me an email as well. So, yep, I do Zoom calls. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Get on that website. And for my viewers, guys, I will see you next time.